See, the last time we saw Nicholas Walters was when he fought Vasil Lomachenko. That was November the 26th of 2016. Now today, August the 7th, 2017, it has been announced that he's going to fight Arturo Santos Reyes. But before we get into who that is, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. And that Terrence Crawford versus Julius Indongo card is loaded, more than stacked. Now, a lot of the fights that are on there are showcase fights or, activity fights or to get guys back into the mix, just like this Walters versus Reyes fight. But let me tell you who's on the card real quick. You got Shakur Stevenson, right? You got Bryant Jennings. He just signed with Top Rank. Remember, he fought Mike Perez and Klitschko. You got Dylan White making his debut here in the States on that card. Mike Alvarado. And then, of course, Nicholas Walters versus Reyes, Alexander Grovesdick, and Mike and Deed Reed, and, of course, Terrence Crawford versus Julius Indongo to be undisputed champion. That's WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, the highly seductive and alluring IBO title, and the Ring Magazine. We haven't had a fight like this for all the belts to be undisputed in this era, because remember, to be undisputed in this era, before, in the 60s and the 70s, all you had in the 80s, all you had to do was have the WBC and the WBA. You was considered to be undisputed. Of course, the ring. Then it was the WBC, the WBA, then the IBF. Now, in this era, you have to have the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. And the WBC is the most coveted of them all. The WBA is the oldest, but they just be on some bullshit with their rules and their two belts. The IBF is very strict, and the WBO, they're still finding their wings, and it could be somewhat lenient. Basically, it's considered a top-ranked Frank Warren HBO belt. So in this case, Nicholas Walters is returning on that undercard. It's likely going to be on ESPN3 or on the ESPN or on the top-ranked TV. Basically, you're going to be able to see the fight, even if it's not on, the actual telecast. You'll be able to see it via mobile or wherever the case may be. So it's going to be August the 19th, that whole card, over in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it's good that Terrence Crawford is going to be fighting this fight in his home. But we're talking about Nicholas Walters. Now, he quit in this last fight. Fans feel that he quit. He fought Lomachenko. Lomachenko just was toying with him. And this was a guy that was going out there really laying hands on people, more so bullying them, like he did with, Nonito Donaire, Vic Darchinyan. He really beat him up really bad. But when he met Lomachenko, and Lomachenko was using that movement and that boxing skill, we saw that, okay, all right. He's not just a bully fighter, meaning Nicholas Walters. He can't just be just a bully fighter. He's got to add some skill to his resume. Now, this fight against this guy that he's fighting, Arturo Santos, fought Tevin Farmer here in Philly. I'm not in Philly, but in the Philadelphia area. And basically, I don't know how I didn't hear about that fight. I heard about it at the last minute. In fact, it was April the 29th, just about 3 months ago when he fought Tevin Farmer. And now he lost that fight. Now he's fighting Nicholas Walters. And other names on his resume is Abner Maris and P-Way Vieca. Of course, he lost those fights. And a lot of times you be knowing Fernando Montiel. And a lot of times you be knowing, when you watch as many fights and many cards as I've watched, anybody who on YouTube that does it, or hardcore boxing fans, you be seeing these fighters fight before, but sometimes you forget who they are until you see their face. You're like, oh, I saw him fight before. So this guy has been around on 126 and now 130-pound division. So technically, he's going to be somewhat of he's going to be the smaller fighter going in there, because looking at this guy's resume, he's normally 122 to 126-pound fighter, and Nicholas Walters was fighting at 126 pounds, but he was always known to be bigger than everybody else. And truth be told, I still think that he's a 135-pounder now, even though 130 you can say is the division that he should be at. So expect for him to go out there and obviously try to put on a show against this guy Santos, 19-8 with only 5 KOs. So there's no even though he hasn't been stopped before. There's no, he wasn't stopped by Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer's a light puncher. He wasn't stopped by P-Way Vieca. P-Way Vieca, in my opinion, is underrated, or was at that point in time with the whole Nonito Donaire thing. Abner Maris, couldn't stop him. So I mean, it's a show. He's 19-8 with 5 KOs. It's a showcase fight for Nicholas Walters, a return fight. You know, to see like where they can match him up, at. Also, you know, if I'm correct, I was just looking at the rankings at 135, 130. You know, Nicholas Walters is not ranked at 130 by the WBC in the top 15, not by the WBA top 15, not by the IBF top 15, and not by the WBO top 15. He's just not ranked, not even at 126, I don't see. So, you know, will he be active now? And where does he go after this win? Because how long is this comeback trail going to be? You know how some fighters, they'll lose, especially since he quit. They may be on a comeback trail for like 3, 4 fights. You know, you see him fighting more undercards, and you see them go to these weird places and fight like fucking, you know, they'll have a fight like over in, you know, where was it at? Random fighters that go over to Cuba, fight for one fight. No, not Cuba. Go to the Venezuelan fight. You know, so I'm wondering, like, you know, is this the start to an aggressive path back to a championship, or is it like him trying to find himself as a fighter? Because next step after this fight, I don't think this fight's going to get him a ranking. He's got to get a ranking. What about Nicholas Walters, Tevin Foreman? That seems a little too good to be true, right? We got to get Tevin Foreman a fight, even though he got shot in the hand. Thank God, you know, Lou DiBella said. And it didn't affect no bones and anything, or no nerves or anything like that. So I guess it's just a flesh wound. Got to heal up, get back to the gym. But, you know, August the 19th, it's going to be Nicholas Walters versus Arturo Santos Reyes. I know I probably messed his name up. Santos Reyes, right? Yeah. Arturo Santos Reyes on the undercard of Crawford versus Indongo on T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. Please subscribe.